Hey there, welcome to How to Complete the X Challenge. The purpose of this is a lot of people have tried the Mega Man X Legacy Collection, and within that have tried the X Challenge and have run into a brick wall of Mavericks. So I wanted to do what I could to give people some pointers on how to complete the X Challenge on normal. So I've got a list of tips in the description that I'm going to go ahead and reference. And the first one here that I've got is tip number one: target the one that's either doing the most damage or the one that's going to be the hardest to fight one-on-one. Now, in this particular battle, which is the first one against Frost Walrus and Chill Penguin, I'm going after Frost Walrus first. And the reason for that is Frost Walrus is dictating the pace of the battle. What do I mean when I say that? Frost Walrus takes some steps and then slides or moves to the other side of the screen, unless he does a large attack. That forces X to move from one side of the room to the other. Chill Penguin's not doing that. Chill Penguin's just doing whatever he wants, shooting ice, starting blizzards, doing whatever. So, in this particular case, I am going after the Walrus first. The second tip I would make note of is you have a lot more health than normal. They do too, but let's ignore that for a moment. Take advantage of the fact that you can take more hits than normal. No one's going to two-hit KO you unless you run into lava or something like that. So be willing to take some hits if you're going to get something out of it. You see that I'm not necessarily going for a perfect run, and you don't need to. And the reason is, you have 3 lives to fight 3 battles per round. So really, the way this goes, you just need to make sure to take each battle out per life. So what I'm doing here is I made note of Walrus's strategy. So what you do for Walrus in particular is to stay far enough away from him that he's not going to do damage with most of his attacks. You're mostly dealing with the Penguin and just blasting him and then going up on the wall to jump above him as he slides towards you. The other thing I do there is use the plasma shot to go ahead and block any shots that you saw before. Now, when it comes to Chill Penguin, by himself, well, really, when he's with Frost Walrus, I don't even worry about him too much because he doesn't do a lot of damage, which is the reason I'm not using any boss weaknesses for this fight. But when he's by himself, he's not used to a lot of your new tools, like being able to hover in the air, like this. So really, you do a lot of hovering. He's not the hardest boss in the world. In X1, he was designed so that you could face him without even dashing. So really, just give some distance. Use your hovering to dodge what you need to, and that should do it for this first fight. Alright, fight 1-2 puts us up against Wheel Gator and Bubble Crab. 2 X2 Mavericks. Say that 5 times fast. Now, if we go through our tips, the first tip, figure out which Maverick you're focusing on. The one I'm going to focus on is Bubble Crab, and the reason for that is because Wheel Gator spends a lot of his level, or a lot of this fight, under the water, just like that. Which actually decides which weakness I'm using as well. Because if you hit Wheel Gator with his weakness, he just goes straight under the water. So I try to make note of that and actually use Bubble Crab's weakness, which sadly is not very effective in this terrain because it doesn't run along the ground like it usually does. It sinks in the oil, this red oil that I thought was blood when I was playing X2 back when I was a kid. So focusing on Bubble Crab, taking advantage of the charge shot for the X-Buster and his weakness, which unfortunately requires me to spend a lot of up-close and personal time with him. But again, that brings us back to our other tip about having a lot more health than normal. So usually I say that you just need to do 1 life per battle, but I have enough experience that I'm just trying to show you that you can go ahead and take more health and take these hits that I'm taking in this battle and still be fine. Now, the other thing to make note of with Bubble Crab's AI is that if you jump over Bubble Crab, he will usually interrupt whatever he's doing and try to jump into you with these green horns. Take advantage of that if he's putting together too many projectiles. Um, do not spend as much time worrying about Wheel Gator until it's time to take out Bubble Crab. Just take as much distance as you need to, and go ahead and wail away with the X-Buster is usually the best way to go about it. Understanding that you're going to take some hits from some of these projectiles. The exception to that, the largest exception to that, is when Wheel Gator goes underwater, which I'll tell you about in a moment once I get rid of this crab. But I'm spending some time close just to make sure I take him out. And now that we've taken him out and we've just got Wheel Gator, let me talk a little bit about what Wheel Gator does primarily. When Wheel Gator is under the water, Wheel Gator will send out one or two, usually two, saw blades against you. They'll climb up the walls, and what you do is you need to use your hover boots so that you can, and you'll see this in a moment. Here we go. So that you can avoid the path of the saw blades, but you also don't take yourself back down into the oil. And the reason is he's waiting for you to get close enough to jump up and try to bite you. The other thing he does this Cycle Crusher attack where he spins toward the wall, and it actually, if you look at the side of the walls, creates some damage there. Those spikes will hurt you, but again, just use the Buster Shots and you will do pretty well there. Alright, that's fight number 2. So, the deal is, Legacy Collection 1 and 2 give you 2 different fights for 1-3, or for your third battle of the round. I'm going to show you both. In Legacy Collection 1, you're going up against Grizzly Slash and Slash Beast. And I actually have both of their weaknesses because we get three Robot Master weapons to use, or Maverick weapons to use. And I didn't bring one, a particular weakness for the first fight. So that allows me to bring both weapons. And really, the thing that you may have noticed with Slash Beast is his weakness puts him in a fairly predictable chain. His weakness will knock him over, and then he'll dash to the other wall. So take advantage of that. That's who I'm going to focus on, because that will go ahead and make the battle much easier. And as you can tell, Grizzly Slash is not doing a lot to demand my attention. So, but I did want to do a little bit of damage to him as well. But the problem that does come with that is his phase 2 makes him more sporadic. He starts going all over the place between these 5 different platforms. But enough of that detour. We'll get back to putting Slash Beast in a little bit of a bind. Really, you don't have to do this, but the reason I took Grizzly Slash into that mode was to make it easier to get a clear shot at Slash Beast. You don't have to do that. You can go ahead and just focus on Slash Beast. You have some flexibility in there, because as you can see, I'm taking out Slash Beast and we still have 3/4 of our life there. So now that that's the case, we can focus on Grizzly Slash. And really, eventually, if you hit him with his weakness in the right position like this, it'll take him out of that chain and get him into a point where every time you hit him, he'll do 2 charge crescents after you. Now, you can try to dodge the normal way like I did there, but really you're going to take a lot of hits. The best way to go about it, dodging, is to go up against the wall, go up high, and just dodge from up there, because he's not going to reach up there. So, for our next battle, we're going to go for the fight for the Legacy Collection 2. Alright, so for Legacy Collection 2, your 1-3 fight will actually be Web Spider and Wire Sponge. And the big thing I want to show here is the tip that I haven't mentioned yet. That the charged Maverick weaknesses do massive amounts of damage typically. I'm going to show you that with Wire Sponge as my guinea pig. I'm basically going to ignore Web Spider because his primary attack does not do a lot of damage, and I'm going to spend most of my time attacking Wire Sponge with that charged weakness. And the reason that it can be helpful is, like I said, both of you have a good amount of health. So what you do here is take advantage of that, because if you're trying to simply outpace them on damage, the charged weapons can go a long way. So, as you can see, it's not even been a minute, and we're at the point where we're almost taking out Wire Sponge. I'm mostly ignoring Web Spider, not trying to dodge his attacks too much. And pretty soon I'll get the point where I can slice Wire Sponge in half. Keeping in mind that when he charges up with his red, I don't even know what you would call it, his red dance, you cannot hit him for part of that. But now that Wire Sponge has been knocked out, it's a little more difficult. One thing you need to keep in mind if you haven't played X4 or if you simply forget is that hitting Web Spider with his weakness typically doesn't have the same effect for Phase 1. What you have to do is go above him and knock him on the ground. You basically cut the web that he's hanging on. But once he gets to Phase 2, that weakness still does a sufficient amount of damage. And you can just go ahead and use as much energy as you need. Go ahead and take some damage if you need to. And that'll get you through the first round of fights. If you like what you see here, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. And I will see you for the next one. We'll keep it going.